session. We're actually staying in Southeast Asia. The previous session dealt with the question of authenticity and sustainable development in times of growing tourism numbers. And in this particular session, we will stay in, we are located in China, and we will look at this idea or this topic of a decreasing or slowing down, I should rather say, growth rate within the Chinese economy and how that impacts on outbound tourism coming from China, and how the tourism industry worldwide can cope or can negotiate the situation appropriately. So I would like to welcome our panel members, and in particular Mr. Charlie Lee, who will moderate the session. And if you, I would invite you to join us upstage and take your seats, and Mr. Charlie Lee will introduce the topic to you in a keynote address. Thank you.
Hello? Hello? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this session of Focus on Asia. My name is Charlie Lee. I'm the founder and CEO of TravelDaily China. So also thanks for ITB invitation to host this event. The main theme here is the future of China's outbound travel in times of economic downturn. So I think many people have been talking about this topic for a while. They have been worrying about the slowdown of Chinese economic growth and its relevant impact on China's outbound travel market. So today, I'm very pleased to invite the senior executive from China's leading travel companies, including Alitrip, Ctrip, Jinjiang, and our industry expert from Germany to share with you on the latest development and future growth opportunity in China's outbound travel segment. So before we start, I would like to give you an overview about the China's outbound travel market. Then we will have a panel discussion and a Q&A. So you can understand how the market is progressing in general. So China remains as a hotspot for world global travel tourism growth. Over the past Spring Festival holiday, over 5.2 million Chinese people traveled to overseas, excluding Hong Kong and Macau, a 10% growth on a year-over-year basis. So in 2015, over 120 million Chinese people traveled to overseas, around 12% growth on a year-over-year basis. So they spent over $220 billion overseas. So China remains as the largest source market for the global outbound travel market. It expects to reach 200 million number of travelers by 2020. For these numbers, let's have a quick review of how the number is structured so you can get some general idea about the market. So 70% of Chinese travelers, they went to Hong Kong, Taiwan, and Macau, the so-called Great China region, which means 30% they went to the destination beyond Great China. Sorry. Out of these 30%, 70% of them, they go into the Asian countries, which makes Southeast Asia and Northeast Asia the top destination for Chinese travelers. Another 30%, they went on the long-haul roads. So 60% of Chinese travelers, they have been traveling independently or visiting family and friends. So it means 40% of them are participating in the group tour organized by the tour operators. So here is a breakdown of the China's top 10 destinations for tourists organized by travel agencies. Thailand, Hong Kong, Japan, Korea, Taiwan, Macau. The Asian destinations are still the most popular destination for the group tourist in China. Here is a breakdown of China's major source market in 2015. Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, Shenzhen, the so-called Tier 1 market, are still the major tourist source market for outbound travel. In combination, they are taking over 60% of market share. But for travel companies, you couldn't afford to ignore the growth potential in China's so-called Tier 2 market. Due to better air connection and the growth of consumption power by the middle class, China's secondary market has shown very positive growth potential compared to Tier 1 city. Mobile has been a driving force in changing the consumer booking behavior. Mobile booking has achieved significant growth in China over the past 2 or 3 years. In 2015, China became the first country where the mobile accounts a majority of online bookings. So in 2016, this year, China will also have some over a quarter of travel bookings will be transacted through mobile device, making China a truly leapfrog market where the mobile will become a dominant travel booking channel, even before the online travel penetration has matured in China. Mobile device has embedded also in the travel experience as well. According to research from Focusrite in 2014, Chinese travelers have shown high adoption rate for mobile activities related to travel. 2/3 reported using mobile device for their destination selection and shopping phases. Over a quarter used mobile device to make a travel purchase. Regarding the lodging type used, middle scale hotel and upscale hotel are still the top choice for majority of the Chinese travelers. But rented room in a private home, apartment, timeshare, or fractional ownership property are also becoming the very popular choice for many Chinese travelers. In terms of destination activity, shopping, sightseeing, dining, theme park, and beach activity are also the most popular activities for Chinese travelers. To tailor the changing needs of Chinese travelers, the Chinese OTA has been developing the so-called one-stop shopping platform to better serve the Chinese during their whole journey and to maximize the revenue potential. Okay, let's see some quick number and also some latest number to see how the growth potential is coming from. By end of last year, only less than 5% of Chinese people have passports. It's hard for you to imagine, but less than 5%, which means 95% Chinese people, they don't have passport. They never get a chance traveling to overseas. It means more than 1 billion people. That's your market. By end of last year, only 150 Chinese cities has a population of 1 million, compared to 35 in Europe. By 2030, 250 Chinese cities will have a population of more than 1 million. It's a big market. As we said, Tier 2 market would be the key driving force for the future growth. This is the latest number for this past January and February, the data from TravelSky, which is China's only state-owned GDS company. The data shows that very positive growth in last year, but the Asian destination, Thailand, Japan, and Vietnam are still the top destinations for Chinese travelers. But US and France, they also achieved around average growth. But for out of these 20 routes, less than around half of them, actually, we have seen some kind of decrease due to various factors. This number is only for Chinese carriers and some international carriers who has been hosting their system with Travel Sky in China. So it's just about 60% of the whole market share. The latest number in this past January and February are very positive. As you can see from the number, all the Asian destinations are showing very positive growth. Malaysia and Vietnam almost double their number. Thailand, Japan, Philippines, India, they all achieved over 50% of growth. Also for the long-haul routes, United States, Australia, Canada, and France, they all achieved over 20% growth in this January. Next is the number for February. February normally is the season for Chinese Spring Festival, so that people, they take the long holiday, travel to back home and to overseas. So you can see it showed a similar path of growth. But for long-haul routes, especially to Australia, United States, to New Zealand, to Canada, and also to France, achieved double-digit growth on a year-over-year basis. So that's actually for the first 2 months of in this year. So the number is very promising. Yeah, before I close my presentation, I would like to give you a quick summary. As we have talked about, the relaxed visa policy by the major destinations right now is one of the key driving force for China's outbound travel growth. Take US as an example. The US government has started to issue the 10-year visa policy to Chinese travelers since October 2014. The number in the growth number in past 2 years of travelers, Chinese travelers to US, has shown how the change on visa policy has been pushing the change. You have seen the number before. Second, the millennials are quickly becoming the main consumer segment for outbound travel and spending. As we said, the Tier 2 city would be the key driving force in the next 5 years, 5 or 10 years, due to better air connection and the growth of middle class. Fourth, the leading Chinese carriers, hotel chains, OTAs, and tour operators are gradually expanding overseas to provide better offer to Chinese consumers. Take a few examples. HNA Tours Group, which means Hainan Airlines Tours Group, Wanda, Jinjiang, and Fusheng, and also Citrip. They have been expanding aggressively overseas through acquisition, strategic acquisition of investment, with a purpose to strengthen the global supply network and to reach the new users. Online and offline integration will be the new trend the major players are looking for. The trend actually we have seen it over the past 2 or 3 years is that the online players have been pushing their offline expansion through the acquisition of offline suppliers and wholesalers and consolidators, Citrip, Alitrip, and a lot of Chinese OTAs that take a very aggressive investment in this area. And lastly, but very important, is new channel emerging very fast. Besides the traditional search marketing, social media platform have become a very important platform for Chinese travel companies and also for overseas companies to acquire new users, to engage with them, and even to transact with them. As many of you must know WeChat. Yeah? Take an example. WeChat claimed they have over 650 million active users by the end of last Q3. They have been strived to build a so-called open platform for all life-related business, which allow the people to use WeChat to receive and transfer payment, to buy the cinema tickets, to buy the restaurant coupons, to pay the mobile and utility bills, to buy the train ticket, to book a hotel, to buy the airline tickets. See, right now, WeChat is almost the very important platform for all Chinese people and for Chinese business. So I think for any foreign companies, if you are looking at the Chinese market, you should keep looking at the tool the Chinese travelers are using and what they have been talking about on Chinese social media platform, and to really understand how you can really engage with the Chinese users in the language they are using. Okay, this is all my presentation. So if any of you are looking at the Chinese market, so our Chinese media platform and also our English media platform, ChinaTravelNews.com, will be your ideal platform for you to reach to keep update with the latest development in China's travel tourism growth. Yeah, you can also follow us on social media, and also you are more than welcome to come to our conference. A little bit commercial, but very quickly. But most importantly, I think yesterday on the opening ceremony, the CEO of Mesa Berlin just made an announcement. They will partner with TravelDaily, my company, to bring the ITB to China next year. So May 2017, see you in Shanghai next year. Thank you. Okay, so next I would like to ask each of our speakers to give a very brief introduction. So please, Sherri.
Okay, yeah. My name is Sherri Wu. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer for Alitrip, which is part of Alibaba Group. I don't know how many of you heard about Alibaba Group, which is the largest e-commerce company in China. And we are very committed to the travel section. That's why we started the travel site, which is called Alitrip, about 2 years ago. In a very short time frame, even with new kids in the family, we have grown to be one of the largest marketplace platform in China. Last year, we have served more than 100 million travelers, in China, have more than 100 million members. And there's something, a Singles Day in China, many of you might heard about it. It's November 11th every year. It's the largest commerce day in the world. Alibaba Group last year achieved, a little bit more than $14.3 billion in 24 hours. And Alitrip, has participated in that, which, we had sold, more than 300,000 international airline tickets, 800,000, outbound, travel package, and more than 860,000, hotel room nights in 24 hours. So we are very committed, actually, to the outbound, market. That's one of our key strategy, for this year, which, I will be very happy to explore more, with our panel today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sherri. John?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm from Ctrip, the largest OTA in China. So you may all familiar with Ctrip from the last year's aggressive merger and acquisition. Now Ctrip family has accounted for the dominant market shares in China. So including Ctrip, in our family, including Ctrip, Qunar, and Yilong. So globalization is one of our key strategy in the coming years. We not only have a global strategy partnership with Priceline. As you may know, that Priceline has already invested 12.63% of our total market shares. And also, just last month, we invest on Make My Trip as one of the biggest shareholders. So that's why I think we are on the way to go globalization. So especially in terms of my department, International Hotel Business Department, we are focusing on set up the biggest international hotel reservation platform. So on our platform, we can have all kinds of suppliers to provide the Chinese customer the best inventory as well as the best price. So especially for my own resources, we will definitely get connected with major hotel chains in the world, as well as directly acquiring hotel accounts. So we are more than happy to work with all the hotel players in the world to set up close relationship. That's why I'm come to here to extend my good wishes to work with everybody here. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Joseph Xia from Jinjiang International Group. So Jinjiang is the largest travel group in China, and we have three key business: hotels, and travel agencies, and transportation. For hotel side, I think you know, in last year we acquired Louvre Hotels, and in this year we acquired Platinum Hotels. So for now, we have 6,000 rooms, not only in mainland China, but also the worldwide. Also for the travel agencies, we have 5 travel agencies in China, and also we have 10,000 vehicles and coaches in China as well. In 3 years ago, we set a strategy, a new strategy, which is the globalization strategy, which means we will expand our business outside China, especially some hot destination, the US, the European, and also some Asian countries. So I'm very happy to be here to have this panel discussion with everyone here to let you know how is China market.
So obviously you have more commercial time than I do. Okay.
Okay, good.
Please.
Yes, also from me, very warm welcome to my colleagues from China, and of course to all of you. I see a lot of familiar faces here. So my name is Wolfgang Georg Arlt. I'm the director of COTRI, China Outbound Tourism Research Institute, and we have been talking about China Outbound Tourism development in the last years several times already in this forum. And as we are seeing, it is growing very fast. So our number for last year is actually 133 million outbound trips. We don't believe CNTA numbers. And the importance is what we can see that in last year, Hong Kong and Macau for the first time had a negative growth. So all the growth is going to further, and this is what we certainly will talk about more. So we are providing obviously consulting and market research for companies and organizations all over the world, and we also have developed a set of data for 60 countries looking at the specifics of the Chinese travelers going to these countries. And what we see is that in the last years we always have been saying, everybody has been asking, we want to have more Chinese tourists. Now we see that a lot of destinations and companies come to us and say, we want to have better Chinese tourists. So we want to have people who stay longer, spend more money, are more interested in the place, and we don't want to have just many people. Many places already are too many. So we want to have a different kind of people. So therefore I think segmentation, what we try to do is to explain segmentation and markets, the Chinese market for specific destinations, because it doesn't help to know that for the people going all over the world, the majority of the activity is shopping. I just came back from New Zealand last week. In New Zealand, shopping is not important. So averages don't help you. You have to look more specific on individual markets. That's what we try to do.
Okay. Let's continue on the discussion about the trend. So please, Dr. Arlt. Yes. So do you see any trend on the choice of the leisure destination and some business destination? Any change on this topic?
Yes. So if you allow me to start. So yes. So I think what we can see clearly is you have still the package tours, still people traveling for the first time outside, and they still go to the most famous countries and to the most famous places in the most famous countries. But we see that especially for the individual travelers, they have more travel experience. They already ticked off Paris, let's say Europe, Paris and Rome and Berlin. So now they go for smaller places. So we just did a big project with Eastern European countries, and you can see that in places like Croatia, Hungary, Czech Republic, you have 40, 50, 60% increase. Norway had 70% increase. Iceland, far away, Iceland now has more Chinese visitors than Scandinavian visitors. So we can see that for the individual travelers, it becomes now important to go to places where not so many other Chinese people are going. And I think also we can see clearly that Chinese outbound tourists used to be middle age, 20 to 50. And now we see much more kids traveling with their parents or in school classes. And we also see older people. I think you will agree to that, that now the first generation of rich people is coming close to 60, so that they have experience. And I think we also see people who are not money rich but time poor, but money rich and also time rich. So I think these are big trends. But I think the biggest trend is certainly that Hong Kong and Macau, if you want to brag about your trip, that's nothing to brag about if you go to Hong Kong. That's already normal.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
I want to add some, on this part. We saw some analysis, Charlie just shared, from Focusrite a little bit earlier. And being a big data, company, Alibaba has lots of data in the last 16, 17 years in China. So we did some analysis as well, about the new trend, in terms of the travelers. What we found out is in the past, definitely shopping is one of the most important, behavior. However, our new research last year have found, beach, vacation for the first time become the #1, at least from our clientele, has started to overtaken, shopping. That become a very important, indicator because it shows, Chinese traveler become more sophisticated. And also, they start to go to like other less, popular, let's say, cities, they come to Paris, it might be the first stop, however, the next, they might go south, try to see, the ocean, to relax a little, I think that's very important. The second thing I want to add is age, And, of course, this is based on our analysis. Majority of our travelers is between, let's say, 26 to 35, so they're very young. And also 90% of them is either college or postgraduate, educated. So they're more into the FIT, free independent travel, instead of the traditional, tour group. So I think these things, essentially will provide a new challenge and opportunities, for companies, in China, but also, for the international partners we're looking for. That's the reason why we come over here is to find, some more partners so we can provide more localized experience for those travelers.
Okay, thank you. So John?
Sorry.
Okay, so I totally agree with Charlie and the professor and Sherri's speaking, but I would like to more focus on hotel industry, because everybody here, we are all involved in the hospitality industry or travel related. So I can say from my studies, I can say that at least the 3 trends of Chinese outbound market. First is penetration more deeply. So from our studies last year, our customer orders goes to about 178 countries, which is much broader than before. And the other thing is that they are going more intensive to explore more and more cities or even destinations throughout the world. So this is the first thing. Second trend, I can see that the more and more family travelers, they are coming to the market. Especially for this young generation, they are really beneficial from the Chinese opening policy. So this generation, they grow up with a very good education background, as a very good expenditure. So that's why when they grow up and take their family to go abroad, they can spend much money on a high-end hotel. I can tell you that C-Trip customer, their hotel orders almost 2/3 of all the total orders goes to high-end hotels, including 4-star hotel and 5-star hotels, because Ctrip is quite good, known in China by its good reputation as well as the service standard. That's why we can attract more and more a lot of high-end customers and bring value to the hotel. The third thing I can tell you that is just to follow the Charlie's saying that mobile wave. I can tell you that even for international hotel business, nowadays, mobile channel has already been the dominant channel, dominant reservation channels. More than 50% of our orders nowadays are coming from mobile. Can you imagine? Even in China nowadays, people still need to apply for visa to lots of the countries, but with the more and more less and the multiple entry of the visa issued, so they can go abroad much easier than before. So that's why more than 50% of our orders are coming from mobile. So I think that will change the way for the cooperation between hotels and OTAs. Don't forget to give the last minute deals to OTAs, because we can give you the last minute orders. Okay.
Do you see the trend that Dr. Arlt has mentioned, the booking to the traditional market, outbound market, Hong Kong, Taiwan, so Hong Kong, Macau, actually dropping?
I should say that actually, in my department, I'm only taking care of the international hotel business outside of Greater China. So I don't have the figure of our...
I mean, just for hotel booking. Your customer going to Hong Kong and Macau, do you see the dropping on that number?
Because I don't have the number of Hong Kong and Macau. But I can tell you that the different breakdown from different continents. So I can say that from this year, especially in Asia, especially in Asia, the shares will become more and more dominant. But for the long haul, especially for this winter, but the long haul shares decreased a little bit.
Long haul?
Yes.
Okay. To Europe and to US, major.
Europe is the least growth continent through my statistic.
Okay. So Josh, do you agree?
Yes, partially agreed. According to the topic of the panel, is the downturn of the China economy. Is there any impact to the outbound travelers? So from my opinion, I think absolutely it will have some impact to outbound travelers, especially for very high-end travels. But I think there is less impact to the millennials and the very basic outbound travelers, which means our destination must pay more attention to the new generation travelers to know what they want, what their needs, how to fit their needs. For example, I have a story which I saw on Facebook. There's a couple, they robbed the bank and they collect all the money in hand and take a photo and post on the Facebook. So yes, maybe you feel it very ridiculous, but this is the behavior of the new generation. They want to show off and they want to know the interesting contents on the internet. So which means for the destination, for the hotels, they must know how to generate the interest contents for their clients. And also for the destination trend, I also have some data from Xinjiang can share with you. Actually, the Korea and Japan also on the top, and follow is the United States and Europe. But there's a little bit difference between online and offline. Online, the Australia and New Zealand is in the list, but offline, Thailand is still in the list. Yes.
Okay. So.
I think, I mean, just to, follow up on what Joseph said, obviously, China's economy is very complicated. I don't think, I'm in any position to judge, or comment on that. However, I think in China, in the past, years, people have accumulated a large amount of the disposable income on their hands, and they love, to have, authentic luxury goods. So it means, in China with a heavy, import tax, luxury tax, they still want to buy those things, So where to buy them? Essentially, they have to travel outside. That is why from our numbers and, different kind of analysis, we didn't see, the travel go outbound, drastically, reduce or impacted, recently. And if you go to China, you go to the restaurant, you still see many people, out there. So the impact of the economy and the stock market in China is very different than, for instance, we have seen, in U.S., in the past years, since, the penetration, is much lower in China. That's why we believe, is outbound, especially going to the long haul, going to continue, to grow, moving forward. And those things, will not, just, change, suddenly, at this moment. And that is why, with the visa policy change, for instance, from the U.S. a 10-year visa, we can see, the drastic increase, in terms of tourists, to go there. And of course, if we have the similar trend, in Europe, I do believe, that we're encouraging, people, who come over here. There's no doubt, about that, especially with 5% of the Chinese people holding passport, because I know it's difficult, and hard, to get a visa, eventually. We think is, if we can somehow work out, with different countries in terms of visa process, then with the right way, to promote, certain kind of destination places, we can really encourage, Chinese travelers, because they have already seen, let's say, Hong Kong, Macau, or Southeast Asia, they have to see something different. Then obviously, they want to, see Europe, US, Australia, those different places.
China gave us a very important number, which is less than 5% of the Chinese have a passport. So you don't need a passport for Hong Kong, Macau, but if you want to go beyond Greater China, you need a passport. So I think we have to keep in mind, we are not talking about the Chinese. We talk about the top 5% of the Chinese society. And so for the top 5% of the Chinese society, of course, they may now get richer a little bit slower than before, but they still get richer. And to spend $5,000, $10,000 on a trip is not that big. So if you're selling Maseratis in China, you have a problem now. People don't buy the second Maserati, only one. So in one of our focus groups, we do a lot of focus groups in China, and one gentleman was saying, you know what, one trip to Europe costs like 1 square meter of a good Shanghai apartment. So next time I buy a Shanghai apartment, 10 square meters less, and I can travel as much as I want. So I think it is, this is what we have to keep in mind. And also I think the point is, it is not a private decision if you travel. So now, when I was in Beijing 2 weeks ago, I talked to people, why are now so many people traveling to Japan? So Japan moved from 2.1 to 5 million arrivals last year, more than 100%, more than double. And a lot of people say, well, I have to go to Tokyo now because my friends have been there, and I feel stupid not having been to Tokyo. They talk about Japan, and I'm sitting in the corner and can't share the discussion. So now I have to go there because I want to be I want to be one of them. So, and I think this is something, a lot of Chinese outbound tourism is not just for pleasure, for private decision. It is, you have to show that you are an important person by having international travel experience. And there are hot destinations. Now Japan is at the moment the hottest, so you have to go there.
Yeah, I agree. Social and mobile, are such an important thing in China. China, probably are, kind of skip the generation in terms of the, mobile side. They didn't go through the regular desktop, like in the Western world, basically. However, because of the mobile, social sharing, has a huge, impact in there. Essentially, majority of the customer using the mobile, to research before, during the trip, and then sharing, after the trip, as well. And Alitrip, specifically, target on that. We started almost everything from the mobile side. More than 70% of our booking, since last year are coming from, mobile already, because we believe this will give them the chance, to really put everything together. I talked to my colleague and also many of my friends about the China there's 4 moments really related to travel I want to know, I want to go, I want to to buy, and I want to really enjoy. So all these moments essentially very achievable through mobile. And that's why if anyone wants to break into that market, my feeling is always you have to really do the mobile first, to make sure have the right contents, no matter it's UGC or the PGC, combining them together with the right products, that essentially, will get, everyone's attention in that market together.
Okay, so my strong feeling is that no matter what what panelists is talking about, psychology, social, or anywhere else, the strong opinion is that quite optimistic, because we are in the same boat. Nobody wants to lose from this market. So that's why I think I can give you also a very strong confidence on the growth of Chinese outbound market. So actually, we can see a slowdown of Chinese economy, but we can feel some negative factors, or even we can look at some positive things. For example, negative ones, according to a survey by a very famous investment banking. They did a survey for the high-end customer twice last year. So for the first, they found that the second survey, they found studies from the second survey that the high-end customer, they will release their frequency to go abroad from for the 3 times a year. The percentage for the 3 times a year to go abroad decreased 70%. So. And also, they will reduce their travel budget. But still, they were going abroad. So that's why the frequency to go abroad once a year increased 17%, 17%. So they were still going abroad. So we are still looking back to the positive one. You can see that in my opinion, is quite similar as my colleagues. So. Firstly, second-tier and third-tier cities, their growth is much higher than first-tier cities customers. So my studies also show that the second-tier city and third-tier cities, the growth rate is 50% of that of first-tier cities. So this is given the large Chinese population base, you cannot imagine what kind of customer will be coming to the market. Second thing, I should say that Chinese customer, just as we discussed a lot of times, Chinese customer are converting from sightseeing into experience. So that's why they are going more broad and going more intensive to the market, to outbound. So no worries. Thirdly, I should say that this is the same as the professor. I can tell you that the expense of traveling abroad is even less than traveling domestic in China. I can tell you that last year, when I want to spend my holidays at the end of last year, I searched many destinations. At last, I found it is much worse to go abroad. So that's why I made the decision at the last minute. So I think that just the same example as the real estate in China, it's crazy. Nobody can affordable. So that's the truth. So although I think maybe at the time being, Asia will grow much more positively than the rest of the world, but no, I think from time to time people will change their mind, will change my mind, and to go much deeper or much specifically to them and as well to their family. So in general, I will say that we are much more, or we are still quite optimistic on the Chinese outbound travel growth.
Okay, so the last question probably. And so we have been talking about the trends, I have been talking about the social media platform and the new generations. So for your companies, from your company point of view, so what's your strategy of expanding overseas to better serve the Chinese customers? So, Dr. Arlt, you have any?
Okay. Well, for us, it's of course, and I've been asked to use this one, this mic. Sorry. Of course, it's rather our clients' strategies, what we are recommending to them. And I think the biggest thing in a nutshell is storification. Give people a reason to come to your place. Tell them a good story so they can tell their friends a good story while they are going to I don't know, Croatia or Peru or smaller cities. So that from our research we find a lot of Chinese individual travelers, they want to travel by themselves, but they don't have that much information. Okay, what else is there to do? So, and especially for smaller destinations, so to develop customized products, adapted products is very important. So, which normally means do things short, intensive, quality for money. So don't try to be cheap, try to be good, and so then people will pay for that. Because most Chinese travelers still have more money than time. So most Chinese travelers are still working very hard for their money in China. So they want to have an extra quality experience, never mind if it's a little bit more expensive. And so therefore I think this is what we can see in many places, that you are successful if you give people a good reason to come. And so in many cases that means starting with the activity. So not saying, please visit Montenegro and then you can look what you want to do there. So I think many Chinese customers are not starting to say, I want to go to this country and what can I do there, but saying, I'm into golf, food, diving, whatever. So every year I want to go to one place. So if you have a nice diving or sailing, then you can say, come to me because this is the best sailing course and we have a world champion who will be your trainer. And you do a 3-day sailing course, and this is somewhere in Schengen land, and the next airport is called whatever, Vienna. So, and start with the activity, because I think for a lot of Chinese tourists, they're not aware what is the difference between Croatia and let's say Montenegro. But if you tell them we have the best sailing class in the world, then they will come. So I think start looking as usual from the customer's perspective.
Okay, so
we are focusing on the customer experience, especially at the stay at hotel. So we launched a program called the Chinese Preferred Hotel Program. So because you know, as the largest OTA in China, more than 90% of customers are Chinese. So we will really keen on their preference. So according to our survey, so we collect some basic requirements to satisfy the Chinese customer stay at hotel, including the free Wi-Fi in room, Chinese translation service directory, Chinese dim sum at buffet restaurant, and also another is electric kettle in room. So this is the basic Chinese customer's need when they travel abroad. So far, our Chinese Preferred Hotel Program has already covered more than 900% within 95 cities in 22 countries. And I can tell you that the hotel really gets a good return for this investment. their conversion ratio on our website is 15% more than the average hotels. So that's why this kind of hotel are much more welcomed, much more favorite by Chinese customers. So I think all the rest of the hotels, if you are interested in participating on our program, I think I'm really happy. I'm ready to align with you. And one more thing, just the last sentence. So on our web, that's why they can get a very high conversion rate, because on our website we will give them a very apparent logo in front of that hotel to greatly promote this hotel. So that's it.
Joseph?
Okay. Share some thoughts of Xinjiang. From the group level, the main target is the globalization. But from my perspective, because I'm in charge of online sales marketing and loyalty program, so we are paying more attention to two things. One is mobile and mobile, because we want to serve our clients better, so we must focus more and more on mobile, not only on the mobile website, but also the WeChat, also the application services. We plug in many add-on services to them, exclusive of our hotel business, but also the destination products, the transportation, and so on. This is what we are focusing on the mobile. Also, we do a lot of integration between the website and the mobile side. We try to track them between when they're shifting from the website to the mobile, vice versa. For the second thing is we do a lot of research on the millennials, because they are the future clients, and they will be the biggest part of the clients. So we do a lot of research on this. So because the new generation guests, they know very much about the mobile, about the commercials. So actually we do a lot of interaction with them on the WeChat without any product recommendation or suggestion, just do the connecting with them to provide them the interest content. And because we know with our research, the new generation clients, the new generations, they have a very strong personal influence to others. And also vice versa, they will be very easier influenced by their closed network. So that's why we do a lot of interaction with them. We hope they can share some the perfect moment with their friends, and their friends will give the same things to them to improve them to get the new idea of where they want to travel or where they want to stay. Yeah. So the two things is very important for the online sales marketing perspective. Yeah.
Yeah. For Alitrip, I mentioned internationalization is one of our most important strategies, not only for Alitrip, but also for Alibaba Group. Because we believe, heavily is the experience is the most important thing for a travel, trip. You go to a place, yeah, you might want to stay at a hotel the whole time if it's a resort, but majority of the time, you want to experience, the destination. That's why we want to do in our international strategy is truly bring the whole experience together. Like, Charlie mentioned, O2O, in that sense. We already started, to work with certain, resorts, destination, attractions. When people go there, we have the whole service, provided for them. The most important thing, let's say they buy so many things, how are they going to take it back? We provide the service, start to provide the service to ship everything, back for them. So essentially, you can enjoy more instead of carry everything to the next, places. So the experience part, is so important, I agree, with, C-Trip, there are some basic needs, for the travelers, However, we also know personalization is so important. Everyone is different. Today, a lot of Chinese travelers, they're not looking into, let's say, oh, I need to find the most, Chinese restaurant when I land to a place. They come to Berlin, they want to know is where I can try the traditional Berlin, food, So we want to make sure for different customers, we give them different kind of, products and a service. If they want a Michelin 2-star, 3-star, if they want, somewhere, local people goes for the breakfast, we'll provide all these things for them. We think is eventually, we have to, put the product, service before they go to the trip, during the trip, then after the trip, so they can have a great experience, then eventually sharing with everyone. But we don't want to do it all by ourselves. That's impossible. You know what I mean? So that's why we hope is to find lots of partners who know about the local, places, who will work with us, together. We can do our best to bring you the, the customers, how to do business in China. But then you can provide, the best product and the best experience, here. Eventually, it's a win-win situation, for everyone.
Okay. Yeah. So I think many people are coming here today are coming from the tourist board, from the travel supplier, travel intermediary. So from your point of view, what would be your best advice for them how to succeed in China? I don't want to a long answer, just a very short. Okay, 1 or 2 points, that's enough. No commercial, okay, from your part. We only have 4 minutes left, so 30 seconds for each one. I need to catch for the signing ceremony because.
Okay, let me share something. Because we do a lot of destination promotion to our members, to our clients, what we are looking for is the rich content for the destination. It's very important for us.
Rich content, then this.
Yeah. We don't have enough confirmation of the destination. So if there's any travel tourism board, they can provide the rich content.
Okay. Okay, sorry.
Know your customer, to go deeper. So this kind of graph is very nice for an overview, but for your destination, this is not specific enough. You have to know what the people going to your destination, to your product, to your services, what they want. So do your research, get deep information about what market segments are the best fitting for your product, and then you will be successful.
Okay, John?
Okay, my point is Chinese friendly. I think all the travel bureau, you should organize all your subsidiary or even the attractions to provide more and more Chinese translation services, because lots of Chinese they have a very good education, but they don't have a lot of chance to practice in China. So when they go explore more and more destinations, they still need lots of Chinese language support, including all the introduction of this attraction or even some Chinese in the public transportation. I think it's a very good for the Chinese customer to travel at your destination.
Yeah, one word, localization is so important. Not just, about the translation, part, because eventually, how to really know Chinese customers. When I first, look into, really work with Alibaba, I found is Chinese, customers love, like long web page, which is very different, and they really like SMS, email is not such a popular thing. So these kind of, details eventually makes a huge difference, So some people wouldn't say, why my email campaign, is failing in China. Localization.
Okay, yes. So actually, ITB has shown the best example of working with the Chinese local partners. So because besides my company, C-Trip, Alitrip, Tunio, and Kaisa, and U2, also Jinjiang, has committed to be the buyer for the ITB China next year. So let's thank for all our speakers for their very insightful sharing. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much to Charlie Leaf for moderating this very interesting panel session, and thank you very much to our panel members. Actually, you know what? My initial suspicion was really confirmed by the discussion of this panel that Chinese travelers, and you guys are walking off stage, but maybe you can either confirm or tell me I'm wrong, that Chinese travelers are not that much different anymore regarding certain aspects to the rest of the world community. It's about individualized travel and obviously often ticking off destinations on a list so you can join in discussions with your friends and neighbors. Okay, that in short. I invite you to come back for our next presentation, which will remain in China locally. So I'll see you back in 15 minutes. Thank you.